Today we're going to go through a very intense topic, I would say, because if you know, right now we're having huge issue with the US tariff. So after Liberation Day, President Donald Trump has announced huge tariffs to almost all countries. And right now, today, we're going to go through how will these tariffs affect the housing market in Singapore. So do watch on if you are someone who is thinking about entering the market, but after this piece of news was announced, you are quite unsure what to do next. Because if you watch on this video, I'm going to go through to share with you, should you hold on, not take any action, wait out the situation, or is there any opportunity for you to take action today? Hi, my name is Nicholas. I cover a lot of real estate content. I share a lot of real estate insights. I also share my own personal journey of my whole real estate journey. So if you like this kind of content, please consider to subscribe my channel, like this video, and share to anyone whom you think they will benefit from this video. So this is the news. This is from Straits Times when Liberation Day, Donald Trump, introduced this infamous ball and slapped everybody with huge tariffs. So what are tariffs? If you are not sure yet, so US tariffs is just tax on imports. So basically, if any goods that are produced to US and is produced from overseas, then there'll be a tax imposed on these items. Unfortunately, a lot of the goods that everyone consume will come from everywhere else, including US. So a lot of the things, even if they produce in US, they might need to buy the parts from other countries. So this will definitely drive up the cost of production for all the goods that are produced in the US. Of course, I'm not going to comment whether this is a good policy or not, but today really the focus is on how will this affect Singapore housing market. So before Liberation Day, actually, the housing market in Singapore was very, very positive. As you can see from November, we see over here, EOK, we have 99% sold on first day. This is November 2024. February 2025, this year we have Parc sold 87% of the units during the first weekend. And then closer to us right now during March, Lentor, which is the project that I bought also, 93% sold on day one. So all these positive news all happened before Liberation Day, before all these tariffs were introduced. But after Liberation Day, what happened? One Marina Gardens was the project that was recently launched. Only 38% was sold on the first weekend. So there are two school of thoughts. I mean, one would be, maybe Marina as a location is not as popular. But most of us actually believe, maybe it's because a lot of the buyer today, they are having a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, and that's why they're holding out before proceeding to enter the market today. That is why the sales dropped from 90% that we saw previously over here, 87%, 90%. And right now today, OMG, One Marina Gardens only close about 38% on the first weekend. So definitely this is a concern, not just to us, but also the developer. So let's recall when was the last time we have a similar kind of crisis. And I only can think of would be COVID-19 that happened in early 2020 when everybody was stuck at home. It was a pandemic. Even if we want to go out, we were so restricted. We need to wear masks. We can only go to the supermarket to buy our groceries, and then we have come back home already. So this was the period of time where I think there was much more fear in the market because jobs were uncertain. But our livelihood, our lifestyle, everything was compromised. It was the new norm. I think I picked up jogging during that time because it was my only outlet to go out, because only can exercise and can go out. So to me, I think COVID was much more impactful in terms of affecting my lifestyle and my life in general as compared to the current US tariff. So this, to me, was the most significant event that happened in recent times, which I can think of as a crisis. So let's find out during those times what happened to the housing market. So this is the private property index, which shows the price change quarter on quarter in Singapore. So what I want to highlight over here is that you can see 2020 Q1. This is when April 2020, the circuit breaker was announced. So that's when COVID really was first introduced and we have to shut down in April 2020, and the property price actually dropped by 1%. But what I want to show you is that after that, even though circuit breaker, yes, the growth was slow, but if you see over here, these are still positive growth. In fact, if you look from 2020 Q2 all the way to 2023 Q3, there is a total of 28.6% increase as compared to the initial 1% drop over here in the first quarter in 2020. So what does this mean? Actually, the housing market seems to be quite resilient during a crisis like this, something as big as COVID. So how can we learn from this today? So once again, we look at the new home sales, the new launches of the private property market from COVID Q1 of 2020 over here, 1,007 all the way to Q1 2023, we are looking at a whopping $680 per square foot increase in general, or a 40% growth in prices in the new launch market. So if you had entered when the market was super fearful, when circuit breaker just opened, nobody was buying, honestly, you are just riding the wave of the whole 40%. And if you only entered at this point when everybody else has already entered, then yeah, you are paying 40% more expensive. So how can we use this to understand what could happen potentially in the next one year or a few years later? So I think most importantly, we need to address is fear. Right now, if you are a buyer thinking to enter, or maybe you are a buyer who had already entered, someone like myself who has entered to buy Lentor Central in February, maybe you have a lot of fear. Do I have a lot of fear? Yeah, I think there is a bit of fear. There's definitely some concern that, wow, what's going to happen to the housing market? But let's be frank, for people like us who have already entered the market, honestly, we don't have a choice. Thankfully, there's this seller stamp duty. I can only sell my property 3 years later. And from how we saw during COVID, right? Honestly, during the 3 years, it was positive growth. And in my opinion, I feel that the current trade wars is less intense than what we faced in COVID. In the 3 years that I'm holding, I feel that definitely I can ride out because, there's a 28.6% increase in the whole property market. So I feel that it actually not too bad. But if you're someone who hasn't entered the market, looking to enter, probably you'll be like, oh, should I wait out? Because now you have a choice. That's the key difference. You have a choice. But what I'm going to show you today is that if you, as a consumer, looking to buy one property, has so much fear, honestly, there's someone else that will probably have more fear than you. And that is the resale seller and the developer. So why do they have more fear? For example, if you're a resale seller today, you are looking to sell your place due to whatever reasons, like you really need to sell, either you're going to relocate or you need to cash out for money, things like that. Honestly, because you need to sell what if the buyers are thinking just like you have a lot of fear, you don't want to enter the market, would you have more fear? Honestly, I think so. But between these two, the resale seller and the developer, who do you think has more fear? If you ask me, I honestly think developer has more fear. Why? Because developers now the projects are launching at like OMG, we have 900 plus units, 30% sold, maybe about 300 units were sold. They are still looking at about 600 units unsold. You are just buying one unit. They have 600 units to sell. Don't you think the developer has much more fear in this case? Why? Because if the developer don't sell within the 5-year mark, they need to pay ABSD on every single unit, as long as they have a single foreign owner in the ownership of the developer company. So if I were the developer, honestly, this is the time that I would be super fearful. So if today you are considering, should I look into resale property or a new launch property, I would say new launch might have more opportunities simply because developer has more to lose compared to a resale seller. Resale seller wise, if they can't sell, they'll be just like, okay, maybe I'll just hold on for a while and see how it goes, because number one, I don't need to pay ABSD. Yes, I'm paying mortgage. Yes, it's expensive, but maybe I can reprice to a cheaper interest rate since interest rate is also dropping to hold out this period, or I can rent out first just to hold it out until the market becomes better. But developer don't have a choice. Developer needs to sell everything, and honestly, that's why I feel that they have more fear in this case. So let me ask you another question. When do you think developer has most fear? Is it when the show flat is super empty over here, or when the show flat is super crowded with so many people? If I were the developer, honestly, I think if there's so many people over here, I will probably just increase price as much as possible because I scared I will sell out on day one. If I sell on day one means I probably could have sold much higher to squeeze out more profit. On the flip side, if my show flat is so empty and I'm just paying aircon every day, my staff, my electricity, and no one's coming, and the clock is ticking, the 5-year mark is coming very, very soon, I think I have so much more fear. In terms of pricing, I think I will be much more realistic. Or maybe, I will just want to clear stock as fast as possible. So this is something that I want you to understand from the developer's point of view, what they are thinking. So similarly, we look at Parc Riviera. What happens when developer has fear? When they launch, not so many units will move. A higher floor unit was sold at 1 million at that time, super cheap, 3-bedroom, 1 million. This is in 31st December 2017. Then about just 5 months later, in 15 May 2018, the same 3-bedroom, a lower floor unit was sold at 1.265. The difference is $200,000. So why is there such a difference? A lower floor was sold more expensive than a higher floor. And usually, higher floor commands higher premium. But why the developer is so bullish and so confident to sell higher for a lower floor? Simply because as time goes, more units are being sold, developer also got confidence. So if you want to find out more about this, you can check out my video on the developer's pricing strategies in my previous video. The link is right here. So I honestly think buy when developer has the most fear. This is when you can squeeze out the most profits over here. As compared if you come in much later, you pay a much higher premium for a worse off unit. So this is a difference of when as a buyer, when you buy, what kind of opportunities can you see? This is a classic article where Pasir Ris 8 was launched during a very bullish environment. The developer actually increased price many times during the booking day from 1,005 all the way to 2,000 PSF. So I'm trying to show you these two transactions of the same stack. So this is the totally same layout, same size, 721 square feet. It's a 2-bedroom. On the same day, a higher floor unit was sold 1.309. A lower floor unit was sold 1.503. And this is a difference of just a few hours of the same day. So what happened? This owner over here likely had a very good queue number. They went in really early, got a choice unit at a very good price. Then as the time goes during the booking day, the developer realized, at this rate, most likely I'm going to sell all my units. Cannot, maybe cannot. What if I sell everything today? I go back, my boss will scold me because my boss will ask me, why you sell so cheap? So this is another consideration that developers will think. So what they do, if I were a developer, I definitely will stop the sales for a while, discuss and increase price, and that is likely what happened. That is why a lower floor unit was sold almost 200k difference than a higher floor unit, which honestly doesn't make so much sense. But why did this owner still went ahead and buy? Because the environment that we were in at that time was a super bullish one. This is 1 year, 1.5 years into COVID already, when people were like, everybody's buying already. When everybody's buying, developer got fear or not? Maybe not. They got fear that, what if I got no more stocks to sell? So they want to faster increase price so that they can squeeze out more profits from you. So this is the difference when developer has no fear. Within 1 day, you can see so much price difference. If you're lucky, you get a good queue number, sure, you can get a very good unit at a good price. But honestly, if you don't have such good luck and you come in right over here, won't you beat yourself up after finding out that, you paid 200k more than your neighbor upstairs? How would you feel? Honestly, not that great if I were the owner for this. So this is when it's positive news, and this is maybe like few months back when we have all the EOK the Parc Town and the Lentor Central situation. Then negative news. This is when 2019, when this is pre-COVID and also when COVID was about to start already. Treasure at Tampines, 2,200 units in total, 2203. Launch weekend, they sold 272 units over here. Only about slightly more than 10% of units sold. If you're a developer, do you think you'll be confident? I think I'll be super scared. I have 2,200 units. I only sold 10%. And maybe right now you can see the drastic difference because just a few months ago, we see like 80-90% sales and it's like no business, right? Then fast forward a few years ago, you see this kind of result, you'll be like, huh? Like that also can ah. And if you read on the article, actually the developer was very confident. They say until, wow, actually we are very happy that we sold 10% because they say they only released 490 units and they achieved this. So they were actually very confident. Of course, they have to show that. But to be very frank, if I were the developer, I'll be super fearful. I'll be thinking like, wow, jialat lah. Like that, how? How can I sell? Can I sell within 5 years or not? I have all these concerns. So what happens if you're a consumer and if you decide to take action during crisis? This is Treasure at Tampines. For someone who entered when no one was entering in 2019, this is Stack 10. Stack 10 is over here. This is pool facing. So what happened over here? Honestly, if you were the buyer and you enter the show flat, all the units were sold about the same price. You can get a good facing unit, a pool facing unit, or a worse facing unit like Stack 11 for about the same price. Which one will you choose for the same price? If I were you, I would choose Stack 10, pool facing, similar price. So that's why the better units were sold first, Stack 10, at a lower price. This is the crux, the 重点. Then, few years later, 13 Feb 2022, when most of the units were sold already, the leftover units, because the developer has so much more confidence now that definitely I can self-finish all my units before my 5-year mark, before TOP, now they want to increase price because now they have to squeeze out more profits. So they increase price, and the worst facing unit, because this Stack 11, unfortunately, is facing the bin center over here, and this is also a road. They managed to sell 1.637. This is a difference of 300k. And to be frank, these two units are of the same level, and this is a very, very low floor unit. So really, the Stack 11, the owner, unfortunately, when you step out the balcony, you look up, it's really the bin center. So every week when the bin center, the truck comes, you will know it. Even if you don't know, you will smell it, I think. So how will you feel? So this is a key difference in buying when developer has a lot of fear and when developer has no fear. So if I were you, I honestly would take action when developer has the most fear because I can go into the show flat, no one's competing with me, and I know I can get a good unit at a good price, and I just wait. Yeah, but it takes guts, honestly, because it's not easy. Everybody is like, are you sure or not? Maybe your uncle, your auntie will be like, no, I cannot. This time is different. But honestly, they will always say this time is different and a lot is at stake. But just fast forward a few years ago, we have COVID, and I truly believe COVID is a worse off scenario, yet all this happened. So I feel that honestly, with the US tariffs, if we are witnessing this kind of sensation, to be very frank, I'd rather be in this situation to enter because I got so much more options. I don't need to go and ballot don't need to pray hard that my queue number will be good to enter to buy a good unit, because I know at this stage, wherever I go, I can be rest assured that pricing should be very fair and I should be able to get a very, very good unit. My verdict for this is that if your job is stable, because honestly, I think some people's concern is like, oh, okay, maybe my job is a bit uncertain. Maybe I work in a US firm. Maybe you need to work out your finances first. But to be very frank, I feel that most people, when we buy property, we definitely have like your reserve fund set aside, be it 3 months, be it 6 months, or be it 1 year, depending on how conservative you are. I believe even without any crisis, you would have already set aside all these things. So to be frank, if you had already planned for that at this juncture, you just need to do the same. So if you are someone who needs to have 6 months of reserve set aside, okay, let's do that. Then the rest, can those be your financial power to enter in a property? Because honestly, from past experiences, from all this research, we see that when developer has most fear, consumers will stand to benefit the most. So if I were you, I would really consider take action. But if your job is at stake and all these things and you don't have reserve funds set aside, then yes, definitely I don't think you should enter the market. Right now, you should focus on setting up your reserve funds set aside first, prepare yourself, and hopefully you are still in time to enter the market at that time. So there are no hard and fast rules. Of course, I definitely cannot guarantee that the prices will take off and how fast it will take off. But from past experiences, this suggests it. And I really think there's a very good chance that we will benefit from this crisis. So don't waste this crisis. Yeah, my name is Nicholas, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.